All right, we are live. Thank you all for attending. Today I'm going to teach a bit on the process of what Buddhism is to the relationship of what humanity is. Yeah, and the reason for Buddhism is healing. Yeah, it's a transmuting process. It's a science. It's not an experiment. Yeah, it's a literal science. Yeah, so the process is within Buddha, the consciousness of many, many, many Buddhas came about a teaching of understanding on earth about the elemental relationships of human beings and how they can take relationship with lesser beings, spirits. And those spirits began to manifest in those people, and from that, they become something different than human. Yeah, they become demigods. They become really famous because they have power to know what people think is the future, but in reality, they're more plotting a process for the change of the future. No real connection to God, but a direct relationship to guessing. Yeah, it's an experiment. Yeah, it's just a guessing game when it comes down to that relationship of people just getting involved in spirit and matter and divination. Yeah, so that process, it's throughout history. Yeah, it's throughout all of our history. Is the energetic field that comes with the misuse of human nature. The psychic ability in people, and from that, there have been many, 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 many thousands of demigods that take incarnation. They evolve into demons, and they manifest life after life. And historically, our world seems to get worse, and it's mainly because of this process of these spirits taking form and manifesting into what is known as witchcraft. Yeah, and that witchcraft embodies culture. It embodies everything. The witches and warlocks are on every corner. They're doing tarot readings, and they're doing whatever they can in order to create a relationship of divination, so that people have this knee-jerk situation, even playing cards or watching football, anything to do with life itself has to do with superstition. Yeah, so good luck, bad luck, the spirit of God, the universe, whatever way you want to call it. You're labeling a situation, and your desire body can change that attractive relationship, what you attract to you. Yeah, and you have no idea that this is what's going to happen. You have no idea that when the spirit gets in you, it takes a manifestation inside the person. And as generations go by, and we can see this in Egypt, we can see this in Aztecs, we can see it all around the world. The history of the planet has been these manifestations of demigods. Yeah, and when they take incarnation, they create a thought form. They have their own, what they believe their destiny is. Yeah, so their divination is drawn by the devil. Yeah, and it's in league with the devil. It's a plan to destroy the earth and destroy nature itself, and make it harder and harder and harder for humanity to have any contact with the angelic side of their true nature. Yeah, their Buddha nature, let alone, Buddha nature, Christians, think, oh, Buddhas, they're a bunch of demigod worshippers, they don't even believe in God, this, what a horrible identity complex they have toward each other, and the Buddhists go, wow, those Christians kill everybody, they create wars, and they're Mongol kind of hating people, and they're very prejudiced, and they do all these terrible things, all true, historically, but these are human beings, that are under this spirit that I'm talking about. And you can disguise yourself as the Catholic Church all you want, but the way it works is that the devil focuses upon male female. Yeah, so what he uses is the female in order to create a channel. And in doing that, the first of the elemental forces go into that energy and create this diva, the essence of a diva. And we are all elements in ourselves. We're elements. And in Buddhism we call Mahadeva. And that relationship is the evolution of the human being into a Buddhaic form in an angelic way, just like we see flowers, just like we see other things in nature. And a Buddha, as a Mahadeva, is a manifestation within nature. It's the super ability of human nature to be natural and to have intuition and right relationship with all other things in nature. So it's literally a facilitator of fixing things for nature, whether it be water or earth or fire or air, all the elements that are in discontent, in balance. It's the Buddha nature that uses those same elements within Buddha himself and turns that through virtue and transforms it it's the formula that counteracts what it is that's causing nature to be all screwed up in the first place. And it's witches and warlocks. So the devil sets up a process inside and knowing inside that we are spiritual beings. And that since we're spiritual, if you get people to think in certain ways, oh, I'm so pretty, I'm prettier than her, I'm prettier than pretty, and just because you're born this way, the devil can use these things, as temptation, as glamour, and it makes a person the witch, look in the mirror, pretty, 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 you see it in all the Disney films and in the movies and everything. And it is just an aspect of the lower feminine nature, that doesn't see its true self. It has a lower self that's pushing, an illusion, a delusion of grandeur, and it creates jealousy and enviousness in relationship to what it is you might be seeing. And it's all spirit. It's all spirit. It's not the little girl wanting to be like that, but it's the spirits on earth that get into the little girl and brings her up like that. And then you got all these, by the time 18, 19, 20 comes along, you got a psychic war of glamours that are so overwhelming in a culture like today, that that force, that feminine force, is the guiding force that drives, the fab. What is a new fad? What makes things fabulous? What makes things interesting? Comes out of this same lower nature, and we call that Kali. The influence of that same feminine nature turned bad, 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 and it starts to collect shoes, and it starts to collect jewelry, and starts to collect. Not as a hoarder, but as a planetary destroyer. Insensitive to nature, insensitive to what goes on after I, do I give my shoes away? Do I realize, they're bad for my feet? None of that comes up because the spirit inside keeps the person from having nature, any nature whatsoever. You'd be, after a while, you're wearing high heels, or flats, or no shoes at all, thinking that you're Mother Nature, and you're going to be so screwed up physically, because walking on thorns and glass and poop that's on the ground goes through your feet. You get more toxins than you could ever imagine, super nature one. Without sensitivity, you won't know any of this is going on. And that's the process that we're supposed to be in. We're supposed to be learning this and developing this, whether you're male or female. That's yoga. That's the process of yoga. And that balances out this thing of pushing, pretty, 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 into having all kinds of obsessive behaviors that come around just thinking pretty, 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 more pretty than another. And all you need is a grandmother, a mother, another friend, and they start saying shit like that, or you watch TV and you start seeing shit like that. And you've got all these girls out there dancing and with not, hardly any clothes on, tattoos everywhere, and what are they supposed to do? Yeah, it's spirit. It's all spirit. Yeah, and then we have the Kardashians, and we have this and that brings on more and more of our acceptance, and that creates more of a world of people who are possessed by that same spirit. And they're actually, whether it be on a lower level of being a witch and a warlock, ask them if they believe in God, and they'll say, which one? Ask them if they believe in God, and they'll say, no, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. I'm atheist. I have decided I am no longer agnostic. I'm so smart, I can make that decision. That's that. That's not uncommon, in this society. Because people have taken more relationship to dark side of things, tattoos and all the movies that you watch. And, they're there because that's what you watch. If you don't watch them, they will stop making them. So they make all the horrifying rape and kill and plundering and destroying and eating flesh movies that you choose to watch. And those are spirits. They're spirits. And they're making it possible for people to go around with guns and shoot people by the hundreds, and little kids without any soul whatsoever, because it's part of the movie that we're living in. Now, how close is film to reality? How close is music and poetry and things like that to reality? It's extremely close. It expresses it quite often. Sometimes it invokes it. It breaks it into manifestation. It clarifies the situation. So there's an enormous process, and that's what Buddhism is about. And people don't really study Buddhism. They look at Tibetan Buddhism. Oh, it's an interesting study. And there's so many yanas. Vajrayana, Hidayana. All these different descriptions of enlightenment and how to get to enlightenment. Well, when you start reading that and you start questioning whether or not they know where they're going, they know what they're doing. There's too many paths here, and this is the path. How can there be so many paths when Buddha said this is the path? And so anybody who steps into that line of Buddhism is anchoring themselves into an agnostic premise. That it's more about demigods and following a belief system within a teaching, and doing those teachings might bring you to enlightenment. But it's not where the truth is at. The healing is in Buddhism. The healing is in the process of bringing the 5 dhyana Buddhas into manifestation. And we're human beings, and we are made manifest by these 5 dhyana Buddhas. We're made manifest. All of the elements of our body, if we're good, we express it. We express each nature, each elemental nature that gives us such a supreme mind and such a supreme way of acting and behaving and caring for other people and running things and doing things. And elements work together because there are 5 dhyana Buddhas that represent each of those elements, each of those 5 elements. And those are the 5 elements of Mara. And they come in the form of female elements. And that's just a delusion. That's Mara. He is that way. So he uses something in order to create the energy. And it's a chakric system, so he chooses. And it's not about women, it's about nature. The nature of a person. Are we born evil? Are we born good? What are we? What is the nature of a person? Because if it's not something you can count on, then life is pretty scary. You can't trust what a person says, or if they're ever going to show up, or if you're going to ever get anything done. So it makes you very unhappy with people. You start getting elementally an influence of wanting to control and manipulate based on distrust, and that's an element. So each one of the Dhyana Buddhas have a frequency of love that radiates into human nature. So it's a matter of bringing that into a radiatory energy. And I'm Buddha, and I know this. And I know I'm blessed by this. I know that I'm not alone. And I know that that I look out to see tukus that might be manifestations, emanations, or maybe even an incarnation of a Buddha. Because it happens. I'm here, and there are hundreds of thousands of Buddhas. It's a matter of whether or not they wake up, whether or not they go through the process to recapitulate and become the Buddha that we're meant to be. That's the promise of this world, is that people awaken their Buddha nature within and become the Buddhas that they're meant to be. And there are hundreds of thousands of Buddhas that's already become Buddhas, and yet they're not walking around. And they're not in some lofty-ass place. They're just in a world that's so defiled in witchcraft that they have really no reason to take an incarnation, because there's no right relationship to teaching people that are going to defile your teaching. That's in Buddhism. That's one of the precepts of ever becoming a teacher, is don't waste your time on people that are going to waste your time and cause you ill and make you feel less and less in the enlightenment of Buddha nature, because it's about transmission. And if they can't receive it, they won't grow, they won't change, the world won't get better. So you have to have this discernment and discrimination. So I'm waiting, in a world, where I know that tukus do exist, at least 1,000 or two, and each one of them are bodhisattva, bodhisattva, at least that, and the Karmapa, and the Panchen Lama, and there are 5 emanations of each one of these Buddhas because they are Dhyana Buddha. That's how it works. And that's how we save everything. There's no supreme, I'm it, that's it. There's only the reality of Buddha. We all have that reality inside of us. So when that reality wakes up, it's the counteracting energy behind what we got going on in the world. There's not another thing that'll fix it. Not another thing. So really it's about invoking that into a transmission into the world in which the world can receive it. That would be Buddha. Buddha would figure out a way to do this. How to make transmission happen, how to make people go through a change by changing their elements, and having them turn into doing good acts. Because the spirit inside of them is not the evil spirit. It's different now. And they're not pledged by some religion or anything like that, but they're moved through their virtues and their wisdom and their understanding and their collective consciousness as a group. And that happens in the healing process of Buddha nature and Bodhisattva power. So by bringing that influence, it's not an experiment, it's a science. Because it's an already existing reality, coexisting along with this reality, but there's a big separation between the two due to karma. So it's a matter of helping to bring about the transmission into this planet to make that change. And it's happening. It's happening in a very, very, very big way. And the changes that have come about already over this is monumental, because it's all about the mind. People's prejudiced minds, people like Trump, people who follow Trump, they're crazy. It's all in the mind. And everything about whether or not we're going to get an electric car, whether or not a company's going to make an electric car, whether or not we're going to have proper solar, whether or not batteries are going to be functional, can be recycled, all these things, that has to be in the awakening process. It's not just about making an electric car. It's about all the aspiring consciousness levels that come with the sciences that are part of a fact. It's a part of a fact. It's not a theory. It's not an experiment. It's a fact. Buddhism is transcendental quantum physics. It's a fact. And we practice quantum physics. It's a fact. That's what we do. We do transcendental quantum physics. We reincarnate from one body to the next with precision. Yeah? With precision. Yeah? And everybody else is like, who knows where you're going to go? Who knows who your mama's going to be, who your brother's going to be? It is a mess. And most likely it's involved with people who caused you harm are going to get back to you because you never worked it out. Yeah? So that might be your mother, your brother, your cousin, your aunt. People close to you will usually be people who owe you debt spiritually. Yeah? And now you have an opportunity to work it out again, because that's all that life is about, is you're transcending the bullshit and the pain and the killing that people do. And you die in pretty bad ways. And sometimes it's by your mom, sometimes it's by your best friend, sometimes it's by your husband, and it's shocking, but you're dead now, and you reincarnate and you come back, yeah, and you will come back around. You will have these relationships. And it's in this cleansing process that people are healed, they're forgiven, because the prayers create a forgiving energy, a recognizing that people are sentient beings, and that if they behave in certain ways, they will go to hell, and they will be in samsara, and they will suffer, and it will continue. But by expressing this truth, it invokes it into people, and it becomes their education, and it's wisdom, and it's manifested through love, through light, through transmission. And it can't be done by, going and taking a book and studying it and coming out because you can mark off everything correctly. It really is a point of karmic resonance. What do you resonate with? In doing bad karma, do you resonate with everything that does bad karma? Are you connected to it? Or are you a being who is liberated from that because you have the strength to have said no 100 million times, and turn around or sit and wait, and come to a different decision rather than your habitual weak decision of following your bad karma, repetitively. And that's not a bad thing. It is normal. It's normal. It's spirit. But Buddhism creates a different atmosphere, and it heals that spirit, mind, body, and soul. It heals the spirit. So in everything that I'm doing, I create temples. I don't know of anybody in California who's born in America who's driven to go about building temples for foreigners in Tibet. And that person is a homeless person who has no contacts with rich people and nothing to facilitate this process other than teaching reincarnation and the fact that he's, a teacher, and people drawn, the money that comes goes to facilitate these projects. And that's what I've done. So out of that, I've built a lot of monasteries. I facilitated a lot of little children to go back into monasteries where they had been destroyed, and they were killed, and now they're reincarnated, And so I rebuild, and they go back, and they have rooms, and they know me. They know me as the person who helped do this. Now that creates an enormous transmission bridge between the bad karma of what harmed them and put them in that situation, and the good karma of what's resurrecting and protecting them and bringing them out of that situation, without there any kind of weird stuff. Like when I build a monastery, nothing weird about it. I don't ask for any ancient Tibetan ceremonies to go on in order to make my monastery a more official monastery. I ask for direct blessings of honest communication, that everybody builds this honestly, strong-wise, architecturally understood, no cutting corners. Everybody's honest. And as long as we're honest, then I'm transmitting into this thing, and I'm clearing all your karma of being dishonest, or knowing people that are dishonest and willing to take advantage of you by making you poor, like governments and things like that. So I've gone against China, of all places, that don't want to build monasteries. I actually had to go in and build monasteries in those countries, and bring it back, and build stupas right in front of the Dalai Lama. You know? And all the teachings that I give about the Dalai Lama, I had to build a stupa on the Dalai Lama's land, because that would be healing. You know, that would be healing. That's how karma works. They could be your mother, they could be your brother, they could be your Dalai Lama. Yeah? And for me, that would make him pretty close to me, because I've always been usually the one chosen to be the Dalai Lama. You know, so he's just in that position right now. Yeah? So there's a strong karmic connection in all of this, but most people don't know their karmic connections, and that's where the 5 dralas come in, the 5 energies that make your karma move, you know, make you wake up and think and have people come into your life and you think, wow, this is really cosmic. You know, wow, how'd that happen? How did I get that seat? You know, how did I get here on time? I didn't even know there was a time I was supposed to be here. You know, those are the dralas. Yeah, they're a very strict communication skill of high mind and focus. You know, of 5 dralas focusing together, where all the pitfalls can happen by you going off on one tangent to another and actually going against your 5 elemental forces that bring you harmony, bring you complete harmony. You know, because imagine if you look at our chakras. I'll show you this. I think I have a picture here. If you look at these, you see the 5th ray, yeah? And then there are all these others. That there are 7 rays, yeah? And you take the 5th ray and you don't see a line going up to that ray, yeah? Because it's left alone. It's important. The brow center in a healthy vehicle is left alone, because that's what God transmits through, yeah? And it controls the 5 elemental forces that you need to be helped out with. And those are Buddhas, yeah? Manifesting through you. You know, you figure out how to fix a doorknob. It's coming from a freaking Buddha, yeah? Little things, big things, all things. In your brow, that's how it works, yeah? But if it's on the unhealthy side, that's down here in the 5th ray, which means you have no relationship to Buddhas. None. Bodhisattva's not happening. Buddha, he could be in the earth and walking around and changing everything, but there'd still be this question. Yeah? Because if the 5 energetic fields are manifesting correctly in your brow center, then your ability to see God, you know, is natural. And that's what's different between Buddhism and other things. In Buddhism, you raise your consciousness to the point where your brow becomes resonatory with God. And you don't become God, you become one with God. Yeah? And that influence literally starts tearing down the miscommunication. If you look at the unhealthy side, yeah, the 7th ray is connected to the 1st ray, and the 4th ray is up in the brow and it's supposed to be down in the base, and the sacral center has a 5th ray and it's supposed to be up there in the brow. I mean, that's pretty discombobbled. Not a human being. If you look at the healthy one, if you know that each one of these rays are the strongest elemental forces of character that allows a person to express himself as God would express himself. Because we're here living in the will of God, not against the will of God. So we're one with God. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, you know, so this process allows us to be in contact with the 5 elements that are out of touch, out of control. Yeah, the brow center. Yeah, the 6th ray, and that's its astral energy, is in a downward push. That's what's over here in the unhealthy. It's pushing the heart down. The heart is where you're intuitive and you can be in your Buddhaic state. Yeah, but that goes down into your solar plex, and all of a sudden you become a witch or a warlock, and you don't know what's going on. You have no idea it's going on. And it settles in. All of a sudden you've got all these connections, all these chakras and elements. So the character that you know is a character that comes through these spirits. And that, if you study Buddhism, that's what Buddhism talks about. This is in the brain, there's like hundreds of demons. Yeah? And in certain parts of the body, there are demons, elements, spirits that are housed in that area. In your lower solar plex, in the process of your sacral center, at your base center, all these different elemental forces, yeah, that can play in those areas. Yeah? So these are, they're the only influences that create channeling. Because the channeling is coming from a lie. That's why they say the devil is a liar. Yeah. Well, everything in this unhealthy state is a lie. So that's why in Buddhism, everything's upside down. Yeah. All your students are upside down. The things they say are upside down. The things they think are upside down. They're not true. It's a lie. And it just is, they're fixated in the process of the image that comes through them that gives them that character, because it's those rays, because each one has a characteristic. Yeah, and if you put those characteristics in the wrong place, they become bad characteristics. If you put the fourth ray at the brow and it's weak, it's only going to worry. Yeah, it's only going to be nervous. It's only going to be desirous. Like ravenously hungry and never able to be satisfied, and never dependent upon the right thing, always just going from one thing to another. Yeah? And that's the fourth ray, just in the lower nature. But if it's on the other side, if it's directly in a relationship of what comes is what comes. Yeah? And it's like deja vu. It comes so often, it's so harmonious, it's so simple, it's so light. In truth. And that's what the fourth ray is supposed to give. Instead, it makes a person question, am I doing the right thing? Am I waking up at the right time? Am I going to bed at the right time? Am I eating at the right time? All these things about life. And when it gets healthy, you literally are moved through many changes in your life to where you are simplified and you're healthy because these chakras are characteristics. Yeah? The third ray has a characteristic. The first ray has a characteristic. And all of these, if they're going down, they need to channel elements, spirits. Yeah? Because it's an opportunity for hell to exist on Earth, for us to have nuclear war. How can you make sense of nuclear war? How can you make sense of anybody getting together scientifically and developing a scientific technology that allows it to explode? Atomic energy, neutron bomb, man, come on. A neutron bomb, was that necessary? A hydrogen bomb, was that necessary? An atom bomb, was that necessary? You have no idea at what level of how many bombs we have today. And for what reason? What reason? All this shit's going on all the time, and a load of money is going into it. All of Korea is poor because it puts all of its money in blowing up bombs. Testing bombs, blowing up bombs, making rockets, to threaten people that they're going to hit them with those bombs. That's insane. That's like super freaking insane. And that's all spirit. So you need Buddha. Yeah? Without that, this will wreak havoc. And the only thing that you're going to get hit is with elements, atomic elements of chaos that'll stay on Earth for tens of hundreds of thousands of years, and you won't be able to grow anything. Everything you eat will create mutations. Water will be impure. Yeah? You put bombs in Canada, New York, down Arizona, into California. You hit Hawaii, just 2 islands. Completely wipe away Hawaii for thousands of years. Yeah? Wipe away all of California for thousands of years. No freeways, no roads, no houses. No nothing, no people. And if there were people, when you reincarnate, there's no place to go. None. Yeah? And that's where we're sitting. We're sitting with that much insanity, that much evil. And that's sitting on the edge of what can happen at any time. It's been going on since the making of this atomic bomb. Yeah? So we got Crazy shit going on. We got people running around saying we've got to have guns so we can carry guns in case someone threatens my ass and I can shoot them, you know, or protect my family, you know. It's the same attitude, you know. Without the healing of virtues, without the transmutation of virtues, you will have hate, and hate is manifested through witchcraft. It's not nature, yeah. The fall, the whole thing, and everything is witchcraft, people. It's witchcraft, yeah? So take a look at this. I got a little thing I made up. Just read this. Yep. So imagine, you know, movie stars, TV stars, rock stars, rich people, yeah, Kardashians, average people, you know, who get the delusion of grandeur that they're the same thing, yeah, and all of that, you know, that process, that energetic relationship, you know, is a part of what goes on inside of humanity. Yeah, it is a fuel that doesn't change, you know, other than change toward more destruction, more hate. Yeah, it fuels hate. Yeah, it's the only thing it does. It all comes out in forms of glamour. It comes out in forms of this and that, whether it be greed or gluttony or all those things that's said in the Bible. You know, and all the things that are said in the Ten Commandments that you shouldn't do, you will do. Yeah? And you have to do those things. You have to. You have to kill. You have to have guns. You have to do those things because it's willed by the Spirit. Yeah? And what I'm doing, what the work of Buddha is about, is to bring you back in line with the will of God and get you to a place to where you don't fight against God. Yeah, your will and God's will needs to be one. Needs to be one. There's no rebels, no Lucifers allowed. It doesn't work. It destroys the world. And you have to recruit someone when you're a Lucifer. You have to recruit other people to believe in you and have them fall with you. Yeah? And that creates this karmic process that you're just doing on your own time. You know, without having anybody knowing that this is what you're doing. Just like with Trump or any other person, they have things they're doing 24 hours a day that are so wrong in terms of how they relate to people and how they relate to themselves and what they eat and what they drink and what they do. It's so self-centered and so spirit-oriented, so in control by their selfishness. Yeah. Yeah, and that is the energy, that hate. You know, and we don't know that hate turns into fame. You know, people become famous because they radiate hate. Yeah, isn't that a trip? Yeah, you think all these artists and everything are just like, oh, Van Gogh, oh, you know, all these famous artists, but they were people of hate, not of compassion, not of caring. Nothing like that. They didn't feed the poor. They didn't do things for other people in that way of love and compassion and empathy. They were self-centered, hateful, devouring vampires, who were so caught up in themselves. They were putting out, enormous amounts of disease to society while they were alive. And after they were dead, that same spirit was in their paintings. And people who got in touch with them, they become possessed. And this is in stones and rocks and buildings. All kinds of things have the spirit of the personality that's conjured up as behind the scene. Yeah? Like Picasso, you'd think, well, a nice guy. Well, he was a womanizer and he harmed so many women. Yeah? Harmed them so much, destroyed their lives. Yeah? But yet, he's a master. Well, no, he wasn't. He was a master of hate who was famous because he was a witch. Yeah? Just like a lot of people who are doing a lot of things, whether they are, women that think that they're models or think that they're actresses or think that they're singers or all these different things, those are things that are conjured up, under their own delusion of this is what I think I could be, this is what I think I am. And I'm going to pay the price, do anything I have to do to get there. Yeah? And that's a turning of those chakras in a downward spin on a day-to-day basis. Yeah? And then it goes into other people, and the people around them become slovenly. They want to become like that person. They become more, less organized, less balanced, less honest with themselves. Simply because they're becoming more lazy, more sympathetic with the process of not having a job and, living as a poor person off of other people, deluding them that your painting is something that's worth your money, your hard-working money. Yeah? And instead, they're going to give you this painting. Yeah? And they honestly believe that this is something worth that they should do, whether they're out there dancing on the street or singing on the street or doing anything of that form, unless it's caring and sharing, a balance. But in most cases, it is not. It is a delusion, and the person needs to let it go and go on to a life that's healthy, and not keep in this place, because you're going to die with this habitual process of following Satan's delusion. And you can't find the will of God. You can't find your place in the world. Yeah. So all of that is what's being healed by the energy of these 5 major rays. Yeah. And getting the 5th ray back into its right order. Yeah. So allowing that to happen, I brought these, I'll show you this. I brought these Tibetans here. When I went back to Tibet, I met with Lumbum Khamsin, and they made me one of the Rinpoches of their Khamsin, and then they asked if we can do a world tour, world peace tour, and we started off with England because it was the first country that said, yes, we'll allow Tibetans in. They could be here for 3 months and things like that. So we started off with that. America wouldn't let us do it. They turned us away in so many different invitations, and it's amazing. It's a very rare thing to have the senior monks of Drepung University go to a country for world peace and be turned away. For what reason? For what reason? But that happened. Yeah. So we're up against witches and warlocks from the moment we get to everywhere we're going. We go to Glastonbury, the first place we go to, and that's where you see these guys. We're in Glastonbury, and I opened up Archangel Michael's Soul Therapy Center. Yeah. And then we went into another place, which is a church, and those monks painted and manifested that church into a temple. Yeah. So we're invoking, and we're beginning to build these pyramids. Yeah. And we're doing it piece by piece. and letting people know that I've got them, we're going to build them, we'll send them out, and everything. This has all happened back in the very early 90s. By the time we get down to 2006, I built this. And this is Shambhala Healing Center. Yeah? Shambhala Monastery. And in it is all the science of bringing elements to God as an offering. Allowing God to radiate back into those elements and heal them from the imperil that's been placed into them by human spirit, evil spirit, a negative spirit made manifest by the unhealthy chakras inside of humanity. Yeah, so you can see in Shambhala we got these peacocks, they're like walking around, very harmonic. Yeah, and then in Tibet, one of the major monasteries of Tibet, needed to reconstruct. So I grabbed all 5 sastras and created a university for all 5 of the lineages of Tibetan Buddhism. And then we went to Leitong, and that's the highest place where the Dalai Lama goes to study and learn. I went there and opened a monastery of Maitreya, and this is it. That was finished. Yeah. So this is all from the year 2001, 2003, up through about 2006, 2007. This was started in 2001. At the same time, I'm building the stupa to heal all the people that were harmed during the time of the Tibetan takeover, by China. And it was done at the Dalai Lama's backyard, the guy who left. And this is in Glastonbury where we went, and there's the Prince Charles receiving a Vajra. And all the monks walking all around the street of Glastonbury. And here I'm now enthroned as Buddha Maitreya. And I got these medals and everything, and it's, all this is done by 2006. 2006. Yeah. So this is the healing of the nations. So I come back in 2006 and I start the healing of America. And I open up Shambhala electric vehicles in order to stimulate the thought form, the thought that we can have electric vehicles. They can
Intrigued
go
by a
400
2003 Toyota RAV4 EV, electric car. Imagine, no emissions, no gas stations, no tailpipes. It's secondhand, but the sellers say they love it. Ah, but you are too late. The RAV4 EV just sold on eBay for $67,300, a record price for a second-hand electric vehicle, and double what the original owners paid for it new. Sanat Kumar was the winning bidder, and he joins me now. Welcome.
Thank you.
So talk me through the economics of this decision. This car is 3 years old. It has almost 60,000 miles on it. Why is it worth twice the original price?
Well, I work in the area of ecology. I have a solar home, and I really wanted a RAV4. And this particular RAV4 has the new batteries, and it's in very new condition. And I only saw it just a day and a half before it was sold. And then in the process, it went up to the price that it did. But in my research, it was worth that value, so I went ahead and bought it.
Tell me a bit about this auction. What was that scene like in the final moments of the auction? Are your palms sweating?
They were very much sweating, and I was in shock. Even after the fact, after I had bought it, I just sat there in shock over the fact that I paid this much money for a car.
So what does this tell us about the times we live in when a second-hand electric vehicle goes for twice its original price?
I think the reason why this went up to $67,000 is because I have a major interest in it. Somebody else also had a major interest in it. I don't know what it was. But mine was because it's so hard to get a good electric car that will serve the purpose that I want.
Wait a second. $60,000, I could buy, let's see, I see an ad here for a 2003 Hummer 2. Now, it sold for a deal. It was only $26,100. That's about a third of what you paid for that RAV4, and nobody will mess with you in traffic when you drive something that big.
Yeah, but I'm an ecologist. And when you're an ecologist, you really get off on being an ecologist rather than driving this great big Hummer. I mean, I just pass by those gas stations, and I just go to where I want to go, and I come right back home, and I have my own little gas station here at home that I plug into the solar system that I have hooked up for electricity, which costs me absolutely nothing to drive this car.
So now you work at a Tibetan center there. You teach Buddhist philosophy?
That's right.
So how does this purchase tie in with those teachings?
Harmlessness. complete environmental harmlessness and proper attitude toward economy.
Sanat Kumara was the winning bidder of the electric RAV4. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, so all this is being built really fast, and I mean lightning speed, and in a poor atmosphere. I just pulled it together. I'd make commitments, and then I'd just monthly fulfill it. And that included getting this solar system together and 160 panels, and then putting in batteries and all of that. And now it's been even more upgraded just in the last couple of weeks, to where it's really top of the line. Yeah, so everything is in constant change, and that's mainly because I'm taking on the karma of Earth. Yeah, and I'm making the decisions that are God's decisions. Yeah, so like in this case, I started the electric car, and I did that in order to stimulate someone I knew who was working on electric cars, which was Elon Musk. And he was just starting at the time, 2006. He was buying the process of the Elon Musk thing going into Tesla. He was into the rocket ships. Yeah, so I took this over, began the process of utilizing that car, and then focused on selling it. So I got into the market, so I'd be seen in the market. Yeah, and I'd be saying it's a 400-mile car, and I'm going to do this, and it's coming out. So they're just going, is this real? Can people really do that? So it gave Elon Musk the true idea of being able to pull off the electric car, and people would buy it. Yeah. So as soon as that was available, I pulled out, sold everything, and didn't really sell it, but just pulled out. Yeah. And we started the process. Then at the same time, I put these orbs on top of the pyramids, all done at the same time that we're doing the electric car vehicles and everything, and building monasteries and everything, and then this goes up, and this is because all my good karma, I'm being enthroned everywhere. I'm getting certificates from every place about Buddhism, and being the person that I am. So that's all coming to me, and that's incredible good karma. That's merit. So that merit is going into the transmission of these pyramids. And that reaches humanity. The moment it comes to me, I immediately find a way to transmit it into humanity, so everybody receives the benefit. This is how big that earth weaver is that's hanging inside that orb on top of the pyramid. That's huge. That's huge. And it's all to create this unhealthy process that we have today and change it into the healthy process that we're going to be. Yeah, which is really, it's more difficult than you can imagine. It absolutely is impossible if you try and imagine anything, because you'd have to think governing, controlling, and manipulating people's consciousness. Yeah, brainwashing in some way. Yeah, and it's really, trust me, people, that's not how it's done. Yeah, not where I come from. So this is it. This process of bringing about these changes is the main thing that humanity has, because it's set in their chakric balance. It's already set there. Yeah. So doing this, it's not under my control. It's under the control of time. Yeah. I'm put on the earth at a certain time. Then after that, a whole other series of time elements begin manifesting, and elements start coming together in a synchronistic reality, and that's Buddhism. And that's the reality of Buddhism. It's not about a person, a place, or a thing. It's about the reality of Buddhism, and that it has its cycle of time that it comes into play. So we're in that cycle. By the year 2030, all the things that we're seeing, all the shit and everything that we've gone through, is going to go through so much transmission and change. Infrastructure of every kind, buildings, different types of flying, different types of vehicles, different types of healing. All these things are all going to come into a groundedness. Electric cars will be totally grounded by the year 2030. And people who aren't doing it, they'll either be out, or they'll be starting a new business to catch up. Yeah, there's going to be plenty of room because we are billions of people on this earth, and we all need to share what it is we're going to do between now and the year 2030. That's going to be the biggest difference, is that we're going to share. We're going to share building little tiny houses. We're going to share toilets that work. We're going to share electric vehicles that cost next to nothing and that they last for 1,000,000 miles. We're going to share because it doesn't cost much, and there's no need for people to suffer the way they are. That's bad karma. Bad karma to behave like that. So this is giving you the opportunity and all the things it takes to do the right thing, just like I'm doing all these things, doing the right thing, creates a meritorious energy inside everybody else to where when their opportunities come up, they will do the right thing. Does that make sense? Yeah, I read that. All right, so let's pray. Okay, repeat after me. Lord Jesus the Christ, thank you for bringing me here. Lord Jesus the Christ, I open my heart today. I invite you to come inside. Lord Jesus the Christ, come save my life. Receive me today as a child of God. Forgive all my sins and write my name in the book of life. I give myself to you, my spirit, my soul, my body. Receive me, Jesus the Christ. Now, the devil, the blood of Jesus the Christ is against you. I command you now to leave me. I do not belong to you. I am God's property. Leave my life. I disassociate myself from you. I renounce every evil covenant. I have entered in with you. In the name of Jesus the Christ, I have received salvation. Amen. its life. I therefore know my mother. I use a body. That body is not me. I serve the group, and in this serving live within the body, detached, a son of God. I know myself. I infuse a body. I am its life, and in that life shall I see life. That life is known as love. I am the love of God. I know the Father, and I know His life is love. I am the body and its loving life. I am the self whose quality is love. I am the life of God Himself. The Mother, Father, Son am I. Behind these three stands the unknown God. That God am I. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of mankind. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love, within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of mankind. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men and women, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, we call the race of mankind. Let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. I call upon the one most high God. To let the disciple know the nature of his Lord of love. Seven, the aspects of love of God. 7, the colors of the manifesting one. 7-fold, the work. 7, the energies. And 7-fold, the path back to the center of peace. Let the disciple live in love, and love in life. The soul is the Son of God, the product of the union of spirit and matter. The soul is an embodiment of consciousness of mind, the expression of divine intelligent awareness. The soul is a unity of energy, vibrating in unison with one of the 7 ray lives, and colored by a particular ray of light. The personality of the soul is the embodiment of love, applied intelligently, producing an attractive form which will serve to express that loving intelligence. The soul is intended to be the embodiment of divine purpose, applied in great active creativity, which produces the power of creative love. We are born of the love of Father for the Mother, of the desire of life for form. Express the love, the magnetic attractiveness of God's nature, and the responsiveness of form nature. The I am consciousness itself of the awareness of deity in life. Okay, just relax. All right, open your eyes. Take it easy. Wake up. All right. So, It's an interesting concept, the process of God, in a place where movies come out, is God dead? Questioning whether or not God's even alive, and whether or not God's gone through the process of dying, and along with everybody else, or does the ridiculousness of even thinking of God, just come to the fact that it's so stupid to have that crutch. That's what most of the movies are based on, because that's what the cultural identity is. We can't talk God in church. We can't do things in the government understanding what would be the right virtuous thing to do, applying God's will, and work together cooperatively, praying and seeking an understanding of what would Jesus do, what would God do under these conditions during this time at this point. It's everything. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You would put your skills into action. You would do your best that day. You would, no matter what it is, it doesn't matter what it is. If God's in your life, your actions, whatever it is God's actions. Appreciate it, and do the best, because that's what God would do. You may not have the skills, but if you try, you'll be amazed that God gives you the skills. And it helps you find what it is that helps you understand you're wrong, change, do this differently, and you raise yourself up every single day. You allow God's will to come into your life and get anything done without the pessimism of thinking it's your accomplishment and your lack of accomplishment and those kind of things. Well, that's not the truth. That's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's all a big lie, and it's not the kind of lie you're thinking that you can unravel, It's an essence of self-hate and self-loathing and unrequited love and a lot of OCD, a lot of PTSD, a lot of emotional stress that just lays you in bed and not be able to get up or do the things you need to do, because it's a lie. And the only way we're going to get out of this is if you take the time to try and listen to my teaching, follow the diet that I recommend, which is a carnivorous diet, keto, a relationship to where you're eating primarily meat with a great deal of natural meat fat, and you're getting full every day. You get full from it, and as time goes on, maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months, you'll find, wow, I feel better and I don't have to eat that much. I have satiated my nutrients that I've been deprived of all my life. It could take a year or two. If you eat every day and eat right, it could even take a year or two before you regenerate enough of your damage that you can bring back into action. And then you can start your exercising. You can start things that you need to do to really begin regenerating. But you got to be patient in this. It's not a diet. It's a way to get you back into your body. Because you're a person who goes out and struggles through life daily to catch meat, to survive the next day. And the fatter the animal, the better off you are. It's something is a fact. It's a fact. It's not an experiment, people. These are things we've already worked out. So all I'm doing is just bringing you out of processed food, bringing you out of the American dietary standard, and giving you back a regular truth that you would have had as Native Americans or anybody else living off the land. This is the way it is, and if you could do it healthfully, you'd be amazed the amount of benefits. Usually there's not healthy water. Usually there's not, all the things you need to make your life right and all the impurities gone, But these days, the kind of home you can live in, the lifestyle you can live, the health that you can gain, it's overwhelming, the options and opportunities. Just a matter of moving forward in that so that you live long enough to appreciate this. You should live 150 years. And you're, you know, you're happy to get to 90 and you're going, well, I don't know if I want to get to 90. You know, I won't remember 80, I won't remember 60, I won't remember 70. And that's not true. If you do a keto diet, you won't have any of those mental problems. You won't have diabetes, which is stage 3 diabetes is all the mental problems we have when we get older. It's really stage 3 diabetes. You know, just study it, look it up. You'll find that that's true. You know, and we can eliminate all that by going into a simple, non-vegetarian, you know, non-Italian, you know, not a Mediterranean, you know, none of those diets. Just flat out steak, ground steak, steak, a steak, and a lot of steak. Morning, noon, and night, steak. That's it, steak. You know, you survive off of it, you eat it, and you'll be amazed that you're actually feeding your organs and your glands that need this stuff. And fruit and vegetables is not going to feed your organs and your glands. They're going to give you all kinds of other processes of carbohydrates to the brain and carbohydrates to your fat cells and your storage system. It's a screw up, you know. So by being able to do this, you're helping yourself go into regeneration, you know. And at the same time, by the time we get to 2030, enormous masses of people will have done this, and you'll be ahead of the game, and you'll have benefited much. And most diets will have gone to the wayside and fluctuate between keto and carnivore, you know, where you can eat small amount of avo, small amount of this, a carrot or two, never have to worry you're going to die or shit like that. But once you've put yourself into a full keto situation using carnivore and fasting, you know, then you be natural to eat something light, like a banana, you know. Just what a wonderful thing, you know. But not every day, not honey every day, but eat it once in a while, you know, because it won't really do you any harm after you've gotten out of food that's been produced by the evil corporation process that has taken over our lives for the last 60 years. Okay, so thank you all very much. Enjoy.